Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results out from Elastic, a company that we cover closely. We think it's one of the 50 most important companies in technology. That's what we do here at Epistrophy Capital Research. I'm Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist. When we look at Q4 2025 earnings from this company, it was a good quarter. They were expected to do $380 million. They did it at $388 million, up 16% on a year-over-year basis. Just a strong quarter from this company. The market didn't like it. So let's look at the numbers. I'm biased because I like this company. I like the people at this company, some in particular. In fact, we're going to talk to the CEO next week. But I want you to take a look at the numbers yourself and see what you think of this quarter. Let's talk about some of those specifically. So I mentioned revenue, $388 million, up 16% on a year-over-year basis. Their Elastic Cloud business, $182 million in the quarter, up 23% on a year-over-year business. And their operating loss of 12%, but on a non-GAAP basis, they had a $60 million profit when you adjust out for stock compensation and things like that. But really strong financial execution and operating leverage here for this company. A really nice free cash flow margin, hit 22%, is a 400 basis point improvement on a year-over-year basis. I mentioned Elastic Cloud doing so well. It's now accounting for 47% of total revenue, driven by demand for managed services and AI workloads. AI has been so very good to this company. They've got over 2,000 cloud customers now using Elastic for generative AI use cases. So sort of plugging in Elastic software to run generative AI searches on the vectorized data that companies have and control themselves. 25% of these 1 million plus customers and annual revenues using and engaging in Gen AI workloads, really strong for this company, specifically the Elastic Better Binary Quantization. Yes, I said that, BBQ, we call it. It's not barbecue, it's Better Binary Quantization. That technology has been deployed in production and boosting vector search performance. These guys were talking about vector search long before AI, but long before I could spell AI even. And I mentioned nearing profitability on a GAAP basis also, and only under 3% there. Customer growth has resumed here. So the deal with this company for the longest time was land and expand. Gets lots of small customers, get users who really love it. A lot of their marketing is focused around getting user groups together and showing them new ways to use the product. Well, the user numbers, therefore, have been tailing down. Well, the size of the users has been going up, but user growth actually grew this quarter, 1% sequentially, but they'll take it as users are getting bigger and bigger. And security is getting to be a bigger deal for Elastic. Security customers now use Elastic's AI assistant to attack discovery tools, I should mention, to look for threat detection, to look for new problems while they understand what's going on in a network. Companies like Siemens using Elastic's products for their cyber defense across 120 factories in really disparate environments, using AI and using integration that's flexible according to Elastic and according to those customers. They also signed some really big partnerships in the quarter that's probably good news for the future. AWS, Amazon Web Services, Google, and NVIDIA all expanded some partnerships, 5-year strategic collaboration with AWS, the first third-party native grounding engine in Google's Vertex AI. Think about that. Google is hiring a company to help them do search, which is what Google does. And of course, they were integrated with NVIDIA's AI Factory to offer GPU accelerated vector search. So in the cases where Elastic's deployed into an NVIDIA environment, it'll work better with those NVIDIA chips. What happened there? RPOs grew. RPOs are 14%. Those are orders for future products, grew at 14% to hit $1.545 billion, or $1,545,412,000, but who's counting? Those are good RPO numbers. And then finally, their customers are growing not just in numbers. I mentioned a 1% sequentially, 2% year over year, but revenue's up 16%. That means customers are getting bigger, even as customer growth is still happening. Nonetheless, the market didn't like these numbers. Stocks down 12% in after hours and down 10% for the year. But again, I'm biased, but I like these numbers. They look pretty good, specifically these large enterprise wins. And they're moving old customers out. We saw this when we were in Washington, D.C., talking to the executives at Elastic, talking to customers and potential customers. They were seeing the opportunity for displacement where new products like Elastic could come into an environment, whether it's government or corporate. Elastic signed multiple 8- and 7-figure deals, including a global financial firm replacing a competitor to use Elastic for observability, to know what their systems are. Really positive. A defense agency migrating to use free Elasticsearch versus a paid deployment for Gen AI workloads. That bodes well for the future of paid work for Elastic as well. Here's CEO Ash Kulkarni.
We are seeing a real change in the market where, we are being accepted as one of the most appropriate and favored vector databases out there, right? So, when you think about it from the perspective of the hyperscalers, we are working very well with them to become sort of the top of the third-party services that they provide in terms of vector database. They all have their own vector database functionality, but when you look beyond their own, we want to be number one, and all of these relationships that we are forming, it's all sort of indicating that we are getting that pole position.
All right, so what's this all mean? What's your big drill on earnings takeaway, and the one number that tells us a whole lot about Elastic? Well, Q4 2025 earnings out from Elastic. The market didn't like them. I did. I'm biased. I'm sorry. They look pretty good to me. 16% revenue growth from this company. Really solid. Their Elastic cloud business growing fantastically, growing at 23%, now to $182 million on a year-over-year basis. But the drill on earnings bite, the one number that tells us a whole lot. These guys are adding larger customers. Big customers are a bigger part of their business than ever before. They used to be known for getting lots of small customers and growing them, but that's working. The big customers are there. Customers that are spending over $100,000 a year for Elastic have grown by 148% over the course of the last 5 years, now up to 1,510 of those customers spending big money with Elastic. All right, thanks for checking out Drill Down Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson.